Hi guys, welcome to my channel Vinyl Beauty, or welcome back. I'm Debbie if you don't know me, and today's video I'm going to be doing another eyeshadow palette video. I know you guys are enjoying this series and thank you so much for all the love in the comments on it. It really has boosted me to want to do some more, and it's so much fun for me to film these. But the three I've done so far, if you don't know what I'm talking about, are all based around why we purchase eyeshadow palettes. So we talked about the theme, we've talked about whether it's an influencer collab, we've talked about whether it's pop culture. Today I thought, as we've got an occasion upcoming, we'll talk about that occasion, which is Valentine's Day. Because I think a lot of us fall for the hype of these palettes that are themed around certain occasions, whether it be Valentine's Day or Halloween or festive time of year. Whatever it might be, the companies know that putting that kind of occasion theme around it will definitely get us interested. And it certainly has for me. Now, I've got quite a lot of palettes to show you in my collection that I might consider to be a Valentine's palette. Now, they're not necessarily Valentine's themed, some of them are, but they're mainly just palettes that I would consider to use at this time of year that have got a lot of red and pink in them. And hopefully I can talk myself out of buying any more, because this is definitely one of my triggers. I love red eyeshadow so much, so when I see anything that's got reds and pinks together, I'm definitely tempted. But seeing how many I've got sitting on this table next to me, I really don't need any more. So if you want to be talked out of buying any more, you're curious to see what I have in my collection, maybe you've got some of these too, and it will inspire you to pull them out and use those rather than spending more money on palettes for Valentine's Day, which is only one day of the year, don't forget. Let's just see whether this might inspire you to use what you have and, yeah, save your hard-earned cash but still have fun with makeup. So without further ado, let's hop into my collection. I think I've got about 18 to show you here of palettes that I would consider perfect for Valentine's Day. Okay guys, so I'm going to start off with Pat McGrath, and I think when you think of Pat McGrath, the colour pink is kind of synonymous, isn't it? She's done so many palettes with pink in, and I think pink is very much a colour that's linked to Valentine's Day and romance. So there's a couple to show you, of course. So there's the Divine Rose 1 and 2. I'm going to start with the 2 actually, because I think this is less likely by me to be used as a Valentine's Day palette. Gorgeous, gorgeous packaging. I love the packaging on these, but that's stunning, and it's got roses. Obviously it's got that romantic element. I've got the one in the rose pink, which you can now see all the background in my video is shining into, and that's the shades in that one. So it's got all the pinks, but I think this one's less romantic than the other one I'm going to show you, because it's a little bit too popping a pink in there probably, and you've got like a duochrome pink to green, but it has still got some of those romantic shades and some neutrals, because I think neutrals can look very nice for Valentine's Day as well. But as I say, the Divine Rose 1 definitely has the edge for that romantic vibe, I think. Isn't that packaging just divine? It really is. It's gorgeous. This one's got more of those sort of dusty rose kind of shades, but I think if I was going out on a romantic date night, this would be more the one that I would choose over the Divine Rose 2. I think it's just got a bit more class about it somehow, and yeah, really, really pretty shades. That dusty mauve kind of matte in the crease, and then there's some beautiful sparkly shades to put on your lid. It is an underrated palette. I really like this one. It's very cool toned, which I enjoy. So they're the only two from Pat McGrath I'm going to show you. I'm going to move right back in time now to a classic from Anastasia. So the Modern Renaissance. Now this one has got a mix of neutrals and pinks in it and red, and I think it's perfect for Valentine's Day. This one's had a lot of love in my collection. I've had this a long time. I've used it quite a lot. It used to be my everyday palette for work for quite a long time. You've got a couple of beautiful shades in here. You've got Love Letter and you've got Venetian Red. So Love Letter's a pinky kind of matte, and then Venetian Red is a shimmer. You've got some sparkly kind of neutral shimmers as well there, but you can definitely build a pink stroke red look with this palette. So if you've got this one, you might have forgotten about it, because it's an old palette that had so much hype when it came out, but nobody talks about it anymore. But still perfect for this time of year. Staying with a bit older palettes, we've got another one that I think is perfect that you might not necessarily think of, and that's the Deuce by Juvia's Place. I think this one's discontinued now, but I know a lot of people bought it at the time. A lot of people didn't know what to do with it once they had, but I think this is a unique colour story for Valentine's Day. If you're the sort of person that loves pink at Valentine's, that's a beautiful pink match. You've got like a salmony pink, you've got a beautiful white pink duochrome, another pink shade here. You've got some deepening up shades in there. So if you take away like the bottom part of the palette there and just sort of go kind of diagonal there, you can see it's got a lot of those kind of shades. I think the greens kind of put you off when looking at this to think of it as a Valentine's Day palette. But yeah, it's a unique colour story and definitely one that I think of at Valentine's time of year. And then another one from the past, and you just don't hear about this brand anymore. I know they're still going and it makes me so sad that you just don't hear of them now, and that's Certify and their Eternity palette. A lot of people have got the blue palette that they did. I can't remember the name of it. But this one didn't get as much hype, but it's pretty much the perfect Valentine's Day palette because it's got every shade of pink and red and orange in there that you could ever wish for, and some neutrals as well in a really lovely formula. And their palettes are going for a song at the moment. Like, they're half price most of the time. The quality's incredible. This one's definitely got that theme because it's things like Adore, Eternal, Loveberg, etc. It's got all of the names that relate to Valentine's Day. But yeah, beautiful palette, and not used it nearly enough. I probably need to do a look with that one. And then one more older one before we sort of get into a bit more current is this one by Dominique Cosmetics, the Berries and Cream. Not necessarily what you might think of when you think of Valentine's Day, but I think a berry look is a very romantic kind of shade. And this one's got some incredible shades in there. I don't know why, but this just didn't really seem to be most people's favourite palette when they reviewed it, but I like it. It's got a lot of different variations in tone, as I say. You could say that this is quite cranberry and you could use it at Christmas time, but it's also got a lot of those berry romantic kind of pink shades in there as well, and those sparkling shimmers. So yeah, really pretty one. I've got most of the Dominique Cosmetics palettes, and yeah, I think this is my favourite of the ones I have. Next up, I've got one by Revolution, and this came out at Halloween time, but it's definitely got romantic vibes about it, I think. So it's called the Forever Flawless Midnight Rose palette. So I guess the idea was like that sort of gothic romance for Halloween time. You could definitely do a red look with this one, very dramatic and smoky, and yeah, all of those sort of vibes to it, if that's more your style of makeup. Incidentally, the makeup I'm wearing now, I didn't film it. It was one of those situations where I was like, I need to have some makeup on to film this video that I want to talk about eyeshadow palettes in. I'll just slap something on quickly and away I'll go. And then I just got playing with one of the palettes that's in this pile. So I think I'll show you that palette next. So I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was called the Better Together palette, and you've got the Kat Von D side and Too Faced, and it's very unique at the time because you don't see brands come together in this kind of way to collaborate together but with their own kind of unique spin on it. So it came apart like it's got a magnet to it, it's quite hard to pull apart. So the Together side, the Too Faced side, I don't really care for. It looks really romantic and pretty. The shades have got the least amount of pigmentation of any I've ever tried in my life. It's really cute to look at, but truly dreadful. But the Kat Von D side, that's what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. And that's what inspired me to play and do this look. And I thought there'd be no point in filming this because I don't think it's something that most of you watching me would want to wear. But oh, I just love how this turned out. And it's got this shade in it called Swoon, and oh, it's swoon worthy. That's the one that's all over my lids and most of my crease and right out into my temples there. It's got an amazing black and grey in there as well. So yeah, this is, or used to be, a go-to for me. I used to use this all the time. And when pulling out these palettes to do these videos, I find hidden gems in my collection. I just had to play with it today. So yeah, there's that one. Also a bit more in that goth kind of style of like blacks and reds and very smoky and deep kind of tones is this one from VE Cosmetics. It wasn't a Valentine's Day release, it's the Blood Moon palette. I think it came out in the summer actually, but perfect for this time of year, and that's what I'm saying. It doesn't necessarily have to have that theme about it, you know, to be a Valentine's appropriate palette. So that was the colours. It was all matte, very deep, as I say, but you've got some reds and pinky tones in there. I think you could make a stunning Valentine's Day look with this one. So the next one I want to talk about is the Millennial Pinks from Melt. So when I was thinking of filming this video, this was one of the first palettes that came to mind actually. Came out a couple of years ago at Valentine's Day time of year. And the shades in this one are very soft pink romantic, aren't they? So it doesn't necessarily have to be red for it to be that kind of theme. And they're really, really soft, as I say, and beautiful. I think this is a very misunderstood palette in what it offers. But I like that it could go really deep and dark and dramatic with the black and the grey and the silver. But then you've also got its alternate ego with all of the soft pinks. I think it's a very, very nice palette, actually. The quality of the shimmers is a bit iffy, but I love the colour story of it so much. Also from Melt, I've got quite a number of their stacks. Always a bit of a gamble holding these up and not letting them fall. But this one's the Lovesick stack. Has a beautiful deep red in there, and I think red mixed with purple and then maybe that kind of peachy shimmer on the lid. That's an alternative way to look at a Valentine's look, I think. And I still favour the stacks from Melt over their palettes. I've got, I think, 4 of the stacks, and they're all really, really good quality. Fantastic. Okay, next up then, because we're not doing these in any particular order, we're back to a release that was a Halloween release, but again is perfect for Valentine's Day. And it crosses the divide between the two. It's I Heart Revolution's Love Spells palette. Love the packaging on this. I brought 2 out at the time, and I think a couple more after that of these kind of themes. And this one, when I reviewed it at the time, I said it was far more appropriate, I would say, for Valentine's Day than it would be for Halloween in my eyes. It's got all of those like pastel-y pinks and mid-tone purples, and yeah, there's a beautiful duochrome there, ethereal. Yeah, it's a stunning palette actually. The quality of the I Heart Revolution shadows, you've got to really work with them to build them up, but even so, I'm glad to own this one. I love the colour story of it. I just think it's really pretty. If reds and pinks aren't really your thing, but you want something that I think still very much appropriate for Valentine's Day, that's soft and pretty and romantic, I think this palette would be perfect. And this is the Elva palette from Odin's Eye. It's pink, obviously pink is a very Valentine colour, but this is a lot softer kind of side of it. Again, those sort of rosy kind of neutrals that, you know, if you're scared of the bright reds and the bright pinks, but you still want a really romantic vibe, I think this palette has that. As I say, their formula is gorgeous, has really pretty shimmers, soft kind of tones in this palette. If you ignore the sort of yellow row and just look at these 2 rows, that's what I'm talking about there. I think it would be perfect. Okay, next up, couldn't really do a Valentine's video without talking about what I consider to be the best red palette that's ever been released. And that's saying quite a lot. It's the one I always think of when I think of red eyeshadow, and I've done some stunning looks with this one. It's the Blood Sugar by Jeffree Star. First time I remember ever seeing a palette that was exclusively themed around red, although like all of his releases, he never just goes with that one colour, so there's a lot of other colours in there too. But you've got a row of sort of purpley pinks and neutrals, but some of the best red shades that I own in my collection. I love this palette. I also think his more recent release, the Pink Religion palette, would be perfect for this time of year, particularly when paired with the Blood Sugar, because I love a red look with pink on the lids. I think that's a stunning look. So you could do something just soft and pink and romantic with this palette. Do something red and a lot more dramatic with the Blood Sugar, or you could combine the two, as I say. So yeah, I definitely wanted to mention this one in conjunction with the Blood Sugar. So if red eyeshadow is your thing, I've got another corker to show you that you might own, because I know a lot of people did buy these. It's the only one by this brand in the video, but it's one of my favourites in this range. It's the Nabla Cutie palette in the shade Coral. Now, I love a £6 palette. I always can find like 2 or 3 looks in a £6 palette. Yeah, I look at like a £30 palette and I'm like, what am I going to do with all those shades? And I don't even know where to start because there's so many combinations you could achieve with that. Whereas with a £6 or a £9, you have to be a bit more focused on what's in there. So this one again, just stunning. That shade there, really, really pretty. If you want to do a red and pink look, those two together are stunning. So that one called Red Shape, it is one of those kind of latex mattes, so like their shimmery mattes that they do. But yeah, I've done a look with this before with those two shades together and it did look really, really pretty. I think cherry reds are really Valentine's appropriate as well, and a lot of you have these palettes, and that's the BH Cosmetics Cherry on Top, so one of the Sweet Shop palettes. There's a variation in tones in here. It's more pinky red than it is out and out red, but just seeing it just there, it has got that very romantic vibe about it, I think, and like a love kind of theme to it, even though it's a cherry palette. So as I say, if this had been packaged saying it was the love palette or whatever, you would think of it for Valentine's Day. Because it's got the cherry on top, you're thinking of it as maybe a spring palette and ice cream. You know, it's all about the packaging, isn't it? But some very appropriate shades to do a red and pink eye look in here. I've got 3 more to show you. So this one is kind of like a palette of 2 halves. So one half of it would be very much a Valentine's Day palette, and it had a very romantic theme to it, and it's the Lois Cosmetics Meet Me in the Underworld. One of my favourite releases of 2021. I love Lois Cosmetics so much. They have a new palette coming. I'm really excited for that. But it's this side that I'm talking about. So all of the kind of more grungy red and pink tones that are in here, but I still think it would make a very Valentine's appropriate look. And oh, it's just stunning, this palette. Just something about it. It just gets my creativity going. I just want to use it every time I open it. Yeah, it's beautiful. Next up, I've picked the Moonspell 2 palette by Lunar Beauty. Again, this was a Halloween release, but when you see the shades inside, it's reds, pinks and purples. So I think if you're looking to like do something that's not just exclusively red and you want to pull in some purples, that's a corker of a red though. Really beautiful shade, but combining it with some of these like sparkly shimmers on the lid would be a really romantic and pretty look. You've got a pastel-y pink in there. You know, it's probably more this row, isn't it, that kind of you would think of rather than the more deeper row. But yeah, I think there's definitely some shades in there that are perfect for Valentine's Day. And last but not least, I've kind of cheated because this isn't a palette, it's a self-made palette of mine from Sugarpill, and I love Sugarpill. I couldn't do a video about romantic shades without including this shade here, which is called Love Plus, because it's one of my favourite red mattes. Sadly, this one's gone a bit dry over time, but when I first got this I was obsessed with it. But all of these shades in this palette just speaks love and romance to me, and yeah, I can't wait to use these shades again now I've pulled this out. That's definitely what doing these videos does for me, is it gets me fired up about eyeshadow again and wanting to use these palettes that I don't see too often because they're tucked away at the back of drawers. So yeah, hope you enjoyed seeing all the palettes in my collection that I think would be perfect to use around Valentine's Day. And then I've got a little confession to make. So whilst doing the research for this video, getting all the palettes out and then seeing what palettes are available for this year and that I wasn't going to buy, I got tempted to buy one. So I've ended up buying the Betty Boop palette from Peachy Queen Cosmetics, more so because it's Betty Boop themed. I mean, you can see I've got Betty Boop in the background, love Betty Boop. But it is a Valentine themed palette, but it was $15, so I'm going to let myself off with that. But I've resisted all of the others, so it'll be interesting to know from you guys, have you fallen prey to the hype of Valentine's Day? Have you added any Valentine's appropriate palettes to your collection? Do you have any of these or any others that you think are appropriate for the day? What are you going to use on the day? Or perhaps you don't like Valentine's Day at all. Let's just talk about it in the comments. Always love to read your comments. And if you're new to my channel, I hope you might consider clicking subscribe. We have a lot of eyeshadow palette kind of content going on right now on this channel, but also some makeup tutorials as well. And just everybody, thank you so much for all the love on this series. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you're having a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye guys.